Fairy Tail has bad writing, and it's precisely because of that bad writing that it's so popular. By analyzing Fairy Tail, we can uncover hidden workings of manga storytelling, what drives compelling stories, and the surprising forces that actually drive the entire anime industry. So this video is not about whether Fairy Tail is good or not narratively in principle. Even Fairy Tail's biggest defenders had to acknowledge the show gets a lot of hate that other franchises simply don't. Even less popular or less successful franchises often have people saying they're just not especially into those series, but they are not criticizing them in the same way. Fairy Tail has become one of those series that people frequently use as an example of what they think is wrong with Battle Shonen. It has almost become a punching bag within parts of the anime community. However, either way, Fairy Tail is still extremely popular as a franchise. It sold tens of millions of manga volumes, ran for well over 300 anime episodes, received multiple movies, several video games, and even a direct sequel. Whether people personally think it deserves that success or not, it clearly resonated with a massive audience around the world. So this video is looking at why Fairy Tail is so popular specifically, regardless of whether you think it's good or bad. Instead of asking whether the criticism is correct, I want to ask a different question. Why didn't those criticisms stop millions of people from loving the series? Many critics of Fairy Tail argue that the series has many flaws and detrimental features of the story, and while they're not wrong that these elements exist in the story, the majority of the public and potential audience just doesn't care about them being present one way or the other. Those criticisms may be completely valid from a certain theoretical literary perspective, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have much influence over whether someone enjoys watching the show. There is often a disconnect between what some critics may value and what general audiences value. Critics may focus on logical consistency, narrative structure, thematic depth, or originality. Most viewers are primarily asking a much simpler question. Am I enjoying myself? If the answer is yes, many of those other concerns become secondary or disappear entirely. As long as people become emotionally invested in the characters, they won't care about faulty or inconsistent fight mechanics that don't make logical sense. So many other Battle Shonen have this issue, not just Fairy Tail, but even if Fairy Tail was alone in having this feature, it still wouldn't matter all that much to its core audience. Fans won't care about that as long as the characters are compelling and the drama is gripping and engaging. People rarely remember every detail of a magic system years after finishing a series. What they do remember are the emotional moments. They remember the friendships, the rivalries, the emotional speeches, and the scenes that made them laugh or cry. Those are the moments that stay with people long after the exact mechanics of a fight have been forgotten. People don't care that the villain is one-dimensional and has a predictable, sympathetic, tragic backstory, as long as the drama is compelling and they can become invested in the character. So as long as the character is sympathetic, the drama is compelling, and they become moved by the characters and attached to them, they don't care about quick and easy redemptions of villain characters. Many viewers actually enjoy seeing broken people find solace. It still provides an emotionally satisfying conclusion. That emotional satisfaction is often more important to audiences than whether the redemption arc was perfectly sound. And so, as a result, they don't care that the villains are one-dimensional or predictable. They will still find the story engaging and enjoyable, become emotionally invested, and root for the redeemed former villain character. Repetition is not always a flaw if the audience enjoys experiencing the journey. Many stories follow familiar emotional beats because those beats consistently work. Fans don't care if an emotionally impactful, consequential character death is undone. They're just happy to see the character in the story again. So as long as the scene itself was gripping and engaging, fans won't care that it didn't have any long-term, lasting consequences. This is one of the most common criticisms directed at Fairy Tail. Critics argue that the lack of permanent consequences lowers the tension, but many fans simply enjoy spending time with these characters. From their perspective, bringing a character back isn't a letdown. They would rather continue watching characters they love. Fans don't care that there's no overarching goal to the entire story, and the situation mostly resets at the end of each story arc, as the characters go back to the Guildhall. They just care that the individual story arcs are engaging and entertaining, and that the characters are compelling and always there. The Guildhall becomes a comfortable home that viewers enjoy returning to, Every new mission is simply another excuse to spend time with these characters. Instead of wondering what the final destination of the story is, viewers become invested in the individual adventures themselves. This structure also makes the series very accessible. A viewer doesn't necessarily need to remember dozens of plot threads stretching back hundreds of chapters to enjoy the next story arc. Each new adventure introduces new conflicts while still allowing the familiar cast to remain at the center of the story. Of course, even its harshest critics would have to concede that the series does some things right, and what Fairy Tail does very uncontestably well, even through a discerning artistic narrative lens, are also the reason it becomes so popular, in spite of the features that generate criticism from some. Fairy Tail has great and compelling characters. The main cast is immediately likable, distinctive, and easy to remember. Every member of the guild has their own personality, eccentricities, and emotional baggage that make them feel like individuals rather than interchangeable archetypes. Viewers are engaged by their emotional development throughout the story. Many characters have painful or traumatic histories, and the narrative shows them overcoming those experiences through emotional growth. Those emotional journeys become the true progression of the series far more than simple increases in magical power. The series has compelling character relationships and interpersonal dynamics. The friendships feel genuine, the rivalries are entertaining, and the interactions between the guild members create an atmosphere that audiences enjoy spending time in. The guild isn't simply a bureaucratic organization. The series has compelling character drama, and that is a core thing that makes it popular. Many of the most memorable scenes in Fairy Tail aren't even fighting. They're emotional conversations, sacrifices, reconciliations, and moments where characters confront their fears or painful memories. The series features a strong focus on character-driven storytelling. Viewers find it compelling and engaging when characters confront their past and grow. Emotional conflict and drama often matters just as much as physical victories, and sometimes more. Humor also contributes significantly to the series' popularity. Fairy Tail constantly alternates between emotional drama, action, comedy, and heartfelt friendship. That variety keeps the pacing energetic and prevents the series from becoming emotionally exhausting. Even after a heavy emotional scene, the story often returns to lighthearted interactions that reinforce why audiences enjoy spending time with these characters. The series also maintains an optimistic tone, even during darker story arcs. Some viewers criticize this optimism as unrealistic, while others find it comforting. There's clearly a large audience that enjoy stories that ultimately leave them feeling good. Fairy Tail is popular partly because it ignores the things that critics value, like complex overarching plotting, lasting consequences, and subversive themes, in favor of pure accessibility and emotional payoff. That isn't necessarily an accent or flaw, rather than trying to constantly surprise the audience or challenge their expectations. Fairy Tail focuses on delivering emotional satisfaction as consistently as possible. For many viewers, that is exactly what they are looking for. Fairy Tail offers a specific type of relief. The show is fun, the characters are compelling, and the narrative lets you get absorbed in their world without worrying about the stakes. This allows the viewer to focus entirely on the emotional journey and the overall vibe. Not every series has to be psychologically complex or relentlessly dark to succeed. Sometimes audiences simply want a cast of engaging characters going on entertaining adventures together. Fairy Tail understands exactly what experience it wants to provide, and it delivers that experience remarkably consistently over hundreds of chapters. That consistency is probably one of the biggest reasons why the franchise has maintained such a loyal fan base over so many years. Fans know exactly what kind of experience they are going to receive, and for many people that familiarity is part of the appeal rather than a weakness. While I do like Fairy Tail a lot, I would not be making a video on it if I thought it was bad. I do actually like the author's other series, Rave Master, Eden Zero, and 100 Years Quest, more than Fairy Tail proper. Those series just seem more refined and have a more compelling and straightforward overreaching narrative, or simply align more closely with me. But even though I personally prefer those series, I think Fairy Tail remains Mashima's most successful work for a reason. It understands what resonates emotionally with a huge audience, and it constantly delivers those experiences over and over again. Whether you personally love the series or can't stand it, the popularity of Fairy Tail wasn't an accident. It became one of the biggest anime and manga franchises of its generation because it excelled at the aspects of storytelling that millions of viewers cared about most, even if those weren't the same aspects that certain critics valued.